let's start with Selenium training. Okay, basically, if you want to get a very good idea about what Selenium is before the training, because many people have been asking me a question that what is Ashish IDE, what is RC, I'm not able to understand what is WebDriver, why do we use WebDriver, when do we use WebDriver, when do we use RC. So there are a lot of speculations and a lot of questions out here. Okay. If you go to my website, there is a Selenium tutorial link over here. If you click on this, I have kept a lot of free videos for people, and out here there is a video called what is Selenium RC, Junit, WebDriver and all. You can also watch this to clear your doubt, or else I'll just explain you what all this is all about. Okay. Now I'll start with the history of Selenium, how it started. Like I first worked on it in 2007 or 2006 and 7 beginning, so somewhere over there, and I started automation in 2005. So at that time there was something known as Selenium RC. Selenium was there, okay, but it was not so famous, fine. And this tool was made by a company called ThoughtWorks. Okay, rather, the RC part is made up of ThoughtWorks. So there were 3 components of this tool at that time. One was known as the IDE, which all of us might be knowing. Then one was Selenium RC, remote control, and one was grid. Okay. Now our IDE is a user interface tool. Okay. It's a tool with a user interface. It's a tool with UI. Okay. It's a tool basically for record and run, and this tool works on Mozilla, only Mozilla. It gets installed as an add-on inside Mozilla. Okay. It's a very powerful tool. You can do a lot of stuff with it, but the major drawback with this is that it only works with Mozilla. Okay. Many people think that it's next to impossible to write programming logic and all in IDE. It's not like that. You can write your programming logic also in IDE using JavaScript. Okay, so that is possible. You can write if-else statements and all lot of things. It's a very powerful tool, and if there was a time when I had an application to test on and I required only Mozilla to test on, so I just used IDE. I did not use RC. So it's a very powerful tool. Only thing is it requires a very good technical expertise and a very good skill set. Fine. And the second tool which came up is Selenium RC. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll just advise you something in case you have to ask any question. On the top there's a participants tab in WebEx. If you move your mouse to the top of the window, you will see a participants tab. You click on that, you will see the list of all the participants, and you will see your name as well. You can click on the unmute icon and you can mute or unmute yourself to hear me. Fine. So now, so this was RC. Okay. Now the advantage of RC was that it can test the application in IE, Chrome, in Mozilla, Safari. All the browsers are supported. Okay, right? And RC, it can be implemented in any one of the languages like Java, C#, Python, Perl, PHP. Okay, no. This is not there. Perl, it's not so stable actually. Java, C#, Python, Perl, PHP, Ruby. So these are the languages in which this can be implemented. Okay, and RC got famous. Most of the companies, they use Selenium RC with the Java extension. Why? Because Java is an open source language. You can run the code on any platform, on Windows based platform, on Linux based platform, and on any operating system or Unix based. RC will work if it is implemented with Java. So that's why it became famous. Okay, because it's an open source tool, Most of the people also use it with Linux-based platforms. If you talk about any other paid tools and all, they don't work on Linux-based platforms or so. So RC, that's why it became famous. But RC had a lot of drawbacks. Okay, RC had many drawbacks which people actually felt that after working on RC that fine, this tool is good, but it is not good enough. Okay, and grid was there to grid 1. Okay, this was grid 1. Grid 1 was there to make your test cases run parallelly on multiple machines. So you used to keep a hub and you used to connect multiple machines with the hub, and suppose you have got 10,000 test cases. You distribute the 10,000 test cases in 5 machines, make one machine a hub and execute the test cases parallelly. This can reduce your time. Okay. So this is again a very good feature, but it requires a lot of expertise again. Okay. Now as things evolved, people thought that fine, there is a lot of drawback in RC. Okay, RC code has to be deployed on grid and it can be run parallelly. Okay. But there was some things which were impossible, not impossible, but very difficult in RC. So what these Google guys did, they made something known as WebDriver, and it came up last year. I can see 25 versions of WebDriver have come up in past 1 year. Right now the version is 0.25. 1 year back it was 0.0. So 25 versions have come up in the past 1 year, and they have improved it a lot. So WebDriver is the new thing in the market. Okay, but the irony is, it's not that Selenium RC got converted to WebDriver. It is not like that. This is a completely different tool. This is a completely different tool. The APIs, okay, or application programming interface, are completely different. Okay. You can say that these two tools, they have got completely different sets of coding and all everything. So a person who has worked on RC, when he looks at the WebDriver code, he is not able to understand anything. And this also means that to learn WebDriver, you don't need to have the knowledge of RC. Okay, you can directly learn WebDriver as well. Alright, and WebDriver also works in multiple browsers. Chrome, Mozilla, Safari support has been introduced right now. Opera is not so stable. Okay, but it is an evolving thing, and it is quite good. It is really good. It actually makes your work very easy. It makes the development very fast, especially the page object model and the page factory design in it, which we'll be studying in this course. This will you'll see that how fast the development is there in WebDriver. There are so many features and all everything. Okay. Similarly, the grid was old, and these days we have something known as Grid 2, which has come up in the market, and WebDriver is with Grid 2. Again, Grid 2 runs your test cases parallelly among multiple machines. Okay, so this is whole Selenium. Selenium as a complete thing consists of various components. Selenium is not a single tool. It has got IDE, it has got RC, WebDriver, Grid, and all. All these are you can say sub tools or the tools within Selenium. Okay, all these things are under one umbrella. Okay, and RC, it's the older version. WebDriver is the new version. Fine. Now about learning, which one you should learn? Okay. Well, you know what? Some companies which made the frameworks and all way back in 2007, 8, 9 when WebDriver was not there, are still using RC. They are not switching over to WebDriver because they are also right at their place, because they say that when our system is working fine, why should we modify it? When our test cases are running fine in RC, we made them, we automated them, we spent a lot of money in automating them 2 years back. Fine. Why should we unnecessarily move to WebDriver when the stuff is already working? So they are not moving from RC, but the new development is going on in WebDriver. So if you are going in for an interview, then I am sorry to say, but they might ask you RC as well, but they might ask you WebDriver as well. So it's like learning two tools. That's what makes Selenium very vast, and that's why we have made the video tutorials, which will really help you even during the course and after the course. The video tutorials on my site, They cover everything: IDE, RC, grid, page, factory, model frameworks, hybrid frameworks, data-driven frameworks. Everything is covered. So if you go to my website, so there are various parts. WebDriver is here. Okay, this is WebDriver around these all modules. Then RC modules are there. Okay, these are RC modules. Okay, so I've covered everything in the pre-recorded modules as well, which you'll be getting: how to do flash testing with Selenium, how to do database testing, and all everything. Okay, now how do we implement Selenium? Here comes the question: how do we implement Selenium? Selenium as a tool, as I told you, can be implemented in many programming languages. Okay, as a tool, this is Selenium tool. It can be implemented in Java, C#, Ruby, Python, Perl, PHP. Okay, so but these Java, C#, Ruby, Python, these are some of the stabler versions of WebDriver. Okay, you should prefer using this. And we'll be studying Selenium with Java. Most of the industry uses Selenium with Java, right? So what I'm going to do right now is I'll start off with Java language. Fine. Don't expect me to directly jump over to Selenium in this class, right? I'll be talking about Selenium. I'll be giving you the brief background. Tomorrow we'll be looking at Selenium, or maybe if time permits us, we'll look at it today. Okay, because I don't want to start off with it directly. The only reason being the structure of Selenium, the whole concept of Selenium is purely object oriented. If you don't know Java, if you don't know the concepts of object oriented in depth, I'm not talking that you just know Java or you just know what object oriented or you know the terminology. No. If you don't know the practical usage of that terminologies and all, you will not be so comfortable with Selenium, no matter how much you work on it or something. So we'll be first studying the concepts of Java, the concepts of object-oriented programming, and then we will see about Selenium. Fine. So what I'll do is, first of all, I am assuming everybody has got Java installed on their machines. Okay. The first thing which you need to do is you need to download Eclipse. You type over here Eclipse download, and you'll go to the download section out here, and you click over here, and you will be able to download Eclipse. In case you have any questions, you can also ask me questions over Skype. My Skype ID is same as my website name, that is QTP Selenium. Okay, name is Ashish, Skype ID is QTP Selenium. So you can download this Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers, depending on your operating system, whether it is 32-bit or 64-bit operating system. Once you have downloaded Eclipse, it comes as a bundle. You have to extract it. It's not an installable thing. Okay. Once you have downloaded Eclipse, it will just be there in a folder. Like this. Here is Eclipse. Okay. You extract it and you will get these all files. This is eclipse.exe. You run this and Eclipse will start. So it takes some time to start Eclipse. So I am starting from the very basics. I know that there will be people joining this training who already have a background on Java or Eclipse, but there are also people who are joining with no background. So I want to cater both of them. Okay. So this is the workspace folder, fine, and in this I'll create a new folder called so this is the place where you will be storing all your Java code. So I'll make a workspace name 6th August. Hold on, let it start. I'm assuming that you have a basic knowledge of programming, that at least you know what if statements are, what a for loop is, fine. Because I cannot go into those things right now because I also need to start Selenium and the object-oriented concepts of Java language. Fine, I am assuming you know basic stuff, what for loops, if statements and all are. If you don't know all these things, you can just watch the training video 1 and 2 on my website. Both of them are free. Okay, you can click on the Watch Now button and you can use them. The other 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, these are the free modules. Okay. So now what I do is this is Eclipse. Okay. In Eclipse, you have got this central portion in which you write the code. Out here at the bottom you see the results, and out here on the left hand side you keep your projects. Okay, so I'll just right click on this Project Explorer and go to New Project. I'm creating a new project. I'll select the project as Java project. If you don't get this option, you'll get this option under the Java folder over here. You expand this, you can select Java project, click on Next, and I'll create a project called Day-1. Fine. Click on Next and Finish. Make sure Java is installed on your system to work with Eclipse. If you are working with, say, the older version, that is, not the older version, if you are working with 64-bit Windows, okay, make sure JDK is also installed. For installing JDK, you have to go to Google. This is only for 64-bit Windows. JRE is not enough. Just type over here, download JDK. You'll get the Java SC downloads. You go here and you install JDK for the 64-bit Windows as well. Otherwise, Eclipse sometimes gives problem. So install JDK. Okay, download this and install. Now, this is Day-1 project which I just created. If I expand this project, you will get two things. One is source folder, one is GRE system library. Now the most frequent thing which we will be using in this whole training would be, we will be going to the properties of the project. You right click on the project and there will be an option called properties. The shortcut is Alt-Enter. Fine. You go to the properties and there will be a lot of properties over here which you will be consistently modifying, checking in your daily work. Okay. Eclipse is an editor which makes the Java coding very easy. Fine. And the first thing is the resources tab over here, which gives you the path where your project is lying. Right. This is the workspace which I just created, and under that there is a Day-1 folder. So if I go to the workspace, I copy this and I go to the workspace. I'll have this Day-1 folder. This is your project, and inside this you will see a lot of files. .settings folder, bin folder, source folder, .class path, and .project. .project means that it is a Eclipse project. If you delete this file, this project will not open in Eclipse. So please be very careful. Don't modify anything. Out of all these folders, only the source folder is available out here. It is visible out here. Right? The source folder is the one in which you will keep all the Java coding and all. Whatever Java files you are keeping, you will keep all the project related things, you will keep it in the source folder. Right? So let me make up a sample Java file. I'll go to new class. How do you create it? You right click on the source folder, go to new class. Okay, and you write over here, say sample, and click on this public static void main option. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, this one. Make sure that you click on this. Right. You click on finish and you will have a file generated automatically with the name same as the name which I gave, sample.java on the left hand side, and this is the code. Wait, I'll just increase my font size so that in online training you are able to see it very, very clearly. It's a little bit less right now. So I hope this is okay now. So this is my class sample. These are comments. You can remove them. They are not valid. Okay. Public class sample. The first line. What is public? We will study that, but not right now. So just you will have to accept some things as they are. because as we proceed with the course, you'll start understanding them. Okay, public class sample. Here is the starting bracket of the class, here is the ending bracket. Make sure that you don't miss any of the brackets. If you miss, Eclipse will give an error immediately. That's why we are using Eclipse. If you move your mouse over the error, it will give you the error fix as well. This is a syntax error. Enclose the closing bracket to complete the class body. So it's asking you to put a closing bracket. Fine. So here's the method called public static void main. It's a main function. Okay, and it is inside the sample class. So in the main function, the control comes for the first time when you run the program. What is public, static, void, and all? We'll study all these things. Okay. Similar to C language, if you have studied C language, in C the control comes out to the main function for the very first time. Similarly, out here the control will come to the main function. To print anything in Java, the command is system.out.println. Okay. In this you can simply write, say, hello Selenium like this, and this will print. Right? The command is system.out.println. Java is a case sensitive language. Make sure that you keep this S for system as capital, not small. The shortcut for writing this command is you type SYSO and hit Control spacebar. So it will come up automatically. The shortcut is SYSO plus Control plus spacebar. Okay. Now I am assuming that you are aware of the basic things, like what is int. Int is something in which we can store numbers, like int I equals to 10. I am assuming you know what a string is, like string s equals to some wording can be stored inside it. Fine. What a double is something in which you can store your decimal numbers. Right. So these are some data types in Java, and everything. String is not a data type, obviously. So now the question arises about the object-oriented concepts in Java language. Fine. I would advise everybody to at least go back today and watch the first, if not the first one is basic, to watch at least the training video 2. It will tell you about various things in Java, okay, especially the two-dimensional arrays and all, which we use to store the test data and all. Okay, so I'll actually talk about the concepts of object-oriented programming, because that is the major thing which can actually help us to start away with Selenium. Okay. Now, how to execute this Java file is again an important thing. This Java file can be executed in two ways with Eclipse. One is you right click on the Java file itself and select the option Run as Java Application. The other one is that you click on this green Run button on the top, this one. Okay. When you click on this, you will run it as a Java application. It will print hello Selenium out here in the console. Fine. Sometimes what happens is that people accidentally they close console and they want to get it back. So to get all the panels back, we have the window show view option over here, in which you have all the panels of Eclipse. As we proceed with the course, we will study all these panels as well. These are very important handles or the very important features in Eclipse which make your work easy basically. So you go to console, and out here you have this thing. So you can enable, disable any panel from Windows Show View out here. Okay. Suppose that this is my package explorer on the left side out here. Sometimes people they close this as well accidentally, and then they ask me how to get it back. It's better that you know it right now. You go to Windows Show View, and you will get package explorer option over here. When you click on this, it will come back. Okay. So this is what stuff is all about. Fine. Now in Java, if I go to my project, the physical location of the project, back to that physical location, and open my source folder, then I will see that sample.java file is out here. Okay, this is the sample.java file which we made, and in your bin folder of Eclipse, if you open the bin folder, you will get a file with the same name but a different extension, sample.class. So if you open this, it will not open. Even if you open it in a notepad or something, you will not be able to understand what's written inside it. It's not exactly bytecode as well, it's something else. So this file is like a exe file. Okay, you can deploy this file on any operating system, and this is the file which will be executed. This file is formed when you compile your project and run the program through Eclipse. So that time this file is formed at compilation time. So this is your exe file. You can give this exe file to your client and all. He will be able to execute this. Okay. How will he execute it and all? We'll talk about that. Okay. But this is how you make a class file. Every Java file is converted to a class file when we run the project. Fine. Now what happens in big projects? In big projects we have got 500 Java files, 1000 Java files, 2000 Java files. So when you are working on a large scale, right, you have to have a mechanism through which you can provide the class files to the client. Suppose I am having 1000 Java files, those 1000 Java files will be converted to 1000 class files. You will never give the Java code to the client because he will be able to read the code and all everything. You will give the class files to the client. Okay, so the class files, how do I give 1000 class files to the client? So what we do, we keep all the class files, everything in a single file known as the jar file, and we deliver it to the client. So this is the concept of jar file in Java. Jar file is collection of class files. And how is class file made? It is one class file is made from one Java file. When you install Java on your machine, if you look in your Eclipse project, you will see that there is a JRE system library on the left side here. Okay. If you expand this JRE system library, you will see lot of .jar files in your project. Okay, this is Java which was installed, and Java is nothing but set of jar files. Each jar file has got number of packages, and each package has number of pre-built class files. Who gave you these class files? These are inbuilt class files of Java language which you can use and you can work with. Okay, and these were made by people who made Java language. Okay. Similar to the stuff like I give sample.java, I want to deliver it to somebody, I'll put it in a jar file and give it to somebody. He will just include it inside Eclipse and he will be able to see it like this. Okay. So similarly the Java guys, previously Sun Microsystems, right now Oracle, they are working on these jar files. So when you install Java, these jar files they come and they into your system and you can see in Eclipse. Similarly, the same concept is applicable for Selenium. Okay. Google worked on Selenium, ThoughtWorks worked on Selenium, they made a lot of Java files, the API is very vast. So what they did was, they gave us the jar files for Selenium which you can include in your project. Always remember, many people they ask me, I have not installed Selenium. Selenium is never installed, it is always configured. You need to download the jar files from the Selenium site and include it in your Eclipse project. The similar way you install Java and the Java jar files are there in your machine. Okay. So what do? We go to the ThoughtWorks site, we go to the seleniumsq.org, you go to Google and just type download Selenium and you will get the download Selenium link over here, right? You click on this link and these are the WebDriver clients, Java, C#, Ruby, Python, the stable clients, okay? And the latest version for Java is 2.25. Download link will give you the jars. If I click on this download links, the zip file for the jars, they will start downloading on my machine right now. They are downloading over here for the latest version. Fine. Again, you will have a link called Java doc. Now, many people miss out this link. This is a very important link. This is the documentation for Selenium. If you click over here, you will get this documentation. Out here you have all classes tagged. All classes means these are all the pre-built classes inside Selenium which you have to use. For example, I made a class called sample.java over here. Okay. Similarly, these guys, they made so many classes. Okay. If I click on any class, I'll get the documentation for that class. But as a layman, you will not be able to understand anything from this documentation because it's purely object-oriented in nature. It is purely object-oriented. So you need to understand the concepts of object-oriented programming first, and then you have to start working with Selenium. Okay? So don't just directly rush over to Selenium, which most of the people do the mistake. Because if you know object-oriented programming, you can read this technical documentation very, very easily. Fine. So this thing has downloaded on my machine. It's a zip file. When you extract the zip file, you'll get a folder like this. Inside this folder, these are the two jar files for Selenium, and along with that, don't forget, under the libs, there are other jar files present as well. So there are two sets of jar files. One is out here, the other ones are under the libs folder. Okay, I'll copy this folder into my C drive, and I'll tell you how to configure Selenium in Eclipse. Right. So if you open this folder, you have got these two jar files. Fine. If you go to your project and right click on the project again and go to the properties of your project, so you will go to Java build path. Fine. In Java build path, you have the libraries tab on the top. This is libraries tab. Fine, out here. You click on that, you will see that the JRE system library or Java with all these jar files is currently added in my project. You can click on this button on the right side, that is add external jar, this button. Okay. You click on this button and you can add the jar files for Selenium which you just included, which you just downloaded. You just have to configure it. Add these two jar files and add all the jar files in the list. Don't forget this. Okay, people do this mistake consistently. Okay, so I have been experienced in training, so that's what I'm telling you. People, they come back to me and tell me it's not working fine. They forget to add the second set of jar files. Right? So you click on OK, and as soon as you click on OK, you will have the reference library section over here below JRE system library. It will come up and it will have the jar files for Selenium. Okay, so this is how you use Selenium. This is how you actually configure Selenium inside Eclipse. But to use the jar files, to use the stuff present in the jar files, you need to first understand the concept of object-oriented programming language inside, object-oriented programming inside Java language. Okay, fine. So we have configured Selenium. It is never installed on your system. Okay. If I expand any of these jar files, then you will see that again there are lot of class files inside it. Okay. Now all right. Fine. So let us now start with the concept of object-oriented programming in Java. Right. What do you mean by objects? What do you mean by object-oriented programming? Fine. I'll take up a very, very simple example. I'll make a class, a very generic class, say city. class city.java. Fine. And in this, I define a property of this city called string name, the name of the city. Fine. And I'll make a client file called test.java. So I'm not talking about Selenium as of now. I'm switching over to object-oriented concepts. After teaching you, I'll come back to this library which I just configured and I'll pull out the stuff from it. So I'll be teaching you the concepts of Java and I'll be teaching you how to implement those concepts in Selenium. Okay? So parallelly we'll go, because I just don't want to rush with Java first and then Selenium or something like that. Okay? Now, I have created this class called city with no main function, nothing, and a property called string name. In test.java, I have the main function and I will create the object of the city class in test class. How do we create object in Java? This is the way. You write new city. Okay. You write new city 2 times, suppose. Right. And what do I mean by writing new city? What happens behind the scenes? How is the memory allocated? So it's like this, that if you write new city, then 2 objects are formed in the memory. Okay. Each object will have a variable called city name. But these objects, they cannot be accessed. These are just hanging. You cannot access them. You cannot access the variables inside them. Okay. So the city name variable will be present inside both the objects. So when you write like this, city C1 equals to new city and city C2 equals to new city. So when you write like this, what happens is you get handles to those objects. What will happen? C1 will point towards this and C2 points towards this object. So these are known as object references and these are my objects. Objects and object references are different. Object references, they point towards the object, and objects, they are in the memory, they remain in the memory. Fine. So I can write over here C1 dot name is, say, London, and C2 dot name is okay. So what I have done is I have given both the objects, both the cities, different names. Okay. So this city name is London and this city name is Tokyo. Okay. I'm sorry about the writing, but yeah. So you can write system.out.println C1 dot name, C2 dot name. Right? When you run this, it will print London and Tokyo. Okay. Now what's the difference between object and object references? The object contains all these properties of the class. I can create 100 objects and I can give a different city name to all the 100 objects. Only thing is that the name property, you just see one property of name in the class. But by creating objects, you can virtually create 100 objects and give 100 different city names. And if I can also move object references. If I write C1 equals to C2, what happens in the memory? In the memory, something happens like this, that C1 will be removed from here and C1 will point towards the same location where C2 is pointing. So C1 and C2 will point towards the same location. and if I write system.out.println c1.name and c2.name, this will print Tokyo for both of them. If you look at the output, you see that, right? I hope this is quite simple. Now if any one of these changes the name, suppose I write c2.name equals to Delhi right away. So what will happen is that C1 and C2 are pointing towards the same object in the memory. Fine. So they will change this name. If one of them changes, it will change for both of them. Okay. So it will change to Delhi. Right. So out here, if I again type system.out.println c1.name and c2.name, and if you run this, this will print Delhi for both of them. So the object state can be changed very easily, and multiple references can point to a single object, and if the object state changes, it changes for all the references. Now how do we use objects in Selenium? Right? For example, there is an inbuilt class called as Firefox driver. If you look in the documentation, there is an inbuilt class called out here, yeah, Firefox driver, this one. This Firefox driver in WebDriver, it actually helps you to run your test cases on Firefox, do the testing in Firefox. So if I have included Selenium jar files in my project, that means Firefox driver class has also come up. Fine. If I write over here new Firefox driver, if I write this, just I am creating the object of the class new Firefox driver. Fine. Okay, fine. Somebody is asking me that can I explain about the Firefox driver again? Fine. Now, who made this class? city.java. I made this file, right? Similarly, whoever made Selenium made a file called Firefox driver. This file is out here. Inside the Selenium documentation, you can see that the Firefox driver class is there. Okay. How do I get this class in my machine? Because to use the city class was already there in my machine. But to use the Firefox driver class, you have to import the Selenium libraries in your project. Fine. Once you have imported the Selenium libraries in your project, you will have all the jar files, and one of these jar files has the class file for Firefox driver. Okay. So I can create the object of Firefox driver out here by writing new Firefox driver. Just like I created the object of city. Fine. So I'm not giving it any reference. I'm not doing anything. So I'm just writing new Firefox driver. Only difference is that you will have to import it from the jar file. It will give you an error. You move your mouse over the error and import it. Select the import option. It will be imported. The file will be imported from the jar file. You will see an import statement in the beginning. It's inside the packages of jar files and all. So you will see that new Firefox driver is written out. Okay. Now if I run my project or if I run my file, what will happen is that you will see a blank Firefox window opening up. Right? Just by creating the object of Firefox driver, I am opening a blank Firefox window. Similarly, I can write new Internet Explorer driver. This is again an inbuilt class, Internet Explorer driver. When you create the object of this class and you run your program, you will see IE coming up. Okay. And similarly, Chrome also works, but Chrome has got some different settings. You have to download an exe file for Chrome and all to make Selenium work successfully on Chrome, which we'll talk about later on. Fine. But right now, Just understand this concept. By creating the objects of the inbuilt classes, you can work with Selenium. That's why I told you the concepts of object-oriented programming is very important. These concepts are very important. Fine. So